guys, this is Nurse Jet, Nursing the Truth, and we are back on the Genesis series. So, the very first Genesis story is what you call ERIDU Genesis. And that was where the real Eden was, in Iraq, with these Anunnaki gods. Now, I'm going to read to you in the Sumerian tablets that has been translated in the Oxford College. These tablets were found under King Ashurbanipal's ziggurat, and all of these things were kept in his library. He even said himself that he could speak the language of the first man. Now, let's get into it. It says, Ninhursag was paying attention. Let me bethink myself of my human mankind, all forgotten as they are. And mindful of mine, Nintor's creatures, let me bring them back. Let me lead the people back from their trails. May they come and build cities and cult places that I may cool myself in their shade. May they lay the bricks for the cult cities in pure spots, and may they find places for divination in pure spots. She gave directions for purification and cries for elemency. The things that cool divine wrath perfected the divine service and the august offices. Said to the surrounding regions, let me institute peace there. They had made the small animals that come up from out of the earth, come from the earth in abundance, and had let there be as it befits it. Gazelles, wild donkeys, and four-footed beasts in the desert, and let me have him advise, let me have him oversee their labor, and let him teach the nation to follow along unerringly like cattle. When the royal scepter was coming down from heaven, the august crown and the royal throne began already down from heaven. He, the king, regularly performed to perfection the august divine services and offices, laid the bricks of those cities in pure spots. They were named by name and allotted half-bushel baskets. The firstling of those cities, Eridu, she gave to the leader, Enki. The second she gave to the prince Dumuzi, and the sacred one, Inanna. The third, Larak, she gave to Ninurta. The fourth, Separ, she gave to Utu. The fifth, Sharapark, she gave to Ninlil. These cities, which had been named by names and had been allotted half-bushel baskets, dredged the canals which were blocked with purplish, wine-borne clay, and they carried water. Their cleaning of the smaller canals established abundant growth. That day, Ninhursag wept over her creatures, and holy Inanna was full of grief over their people. Talking about the flood. But Enki took counsel with his own heart, and Enlil, Enki, and Ninhursag had the gods of heaven and earth swear by the names of An and Enlil. At that time, Zuasundra was king and priest. He fashioned, being a seer, the god of giddiness, and stood in awe beside it, wording his wishes humbly. As he stood there regularly day after day, something was not a dream was appearing. Conversation, a swearing of oaths by heaven and earth, a touching of throats, and the gods bringing their thoughts up to Ker. And as Zuasundra stood there beside it, he went on hearing. Step up to the wall. Read wall hiding Enki and Nigashita to my left and listen. Let me speak a word to you at the wall, and may you grasp what I say, and may you heed my advice. This is Enki talking to Zuasundra. By our hand a flood will sweep over the cities of the half-bushel baskets in the country. The decision that mankind is to be destroyed has been made. A verdict A command of the assembly cannot be revoked. An order of On and Enlil is not known ever to have been countermanded. Their kingship, their term has been uprooted. They must bethink themselves of that. Now, what I have to say to you, lost account of Enki's advice to build a boat and load it with pairs of living things and Zuasundra's compliance. All the evil winds, all stormy winds gathered into one, and with them then the flood was sweeping over the cities of the half-bushel baskets for 7 days and 7 nights. After the flood had swept over the country, after the evil wind had tossed the big boat about the great waters, the sun came out, spreading light over heaven and earth. Zuasundra then drilled an opening in the boat, and the gallant Utu sun god sent his light into the interior of the big boat. And Zuasundra, being the mixed breed offspring of Enki, stepped up before Utu, kissing the ground before him. The king was butchering oxen, was being lavish with the sheep, barley cakes, crescents together with he was crumbling for him, juniper, the pure plant of the mountains. He filled on the fire with a clasp to the breast. You here have sworn by the life's breath of heaven, the life's breath of earth, that he verily is allied with yourself. You there, On and Enlil, have sworn by the life's breath of heaven, the life's breath of earth, that he is allied all of you. He will disembark the small animals that come up from the earth. Zuasundra, being king, stepped up before On and Enlil, kissing the ground. And On and Enlil, after honoring him, were granting him life like a god's, were making lasting breath of life like a god's descended into him. That day they made Zuasundra preserver as king of the name of the small animals and the seed of mankind. Dil moon pristine lands given by Enki to his daughter Ninsikla, the spouse of Zuasundra, lived toward the east over the mountains in Mount Dil moon. The same story in the Hebrew Genesis that was borrowed from the Sumerian. They had all of this. You see, when these people were in the Babylon captivity, you have to understand that was in Iraq. And everything that was red, and they worshipped Marduk, and all of these other gods of antiquity, they had these things. All of this stuff was even in the Library of Alexandria until the Romans burned it. So, which story are you going to believe? The latest or the first? Your choice. But Nurse J wants to bring this information to you. And I will keep exposing these lies day after day, time after time. It doesn't matter to me, because I know what I believe, and I know what is first, and I know what is truth. What we have is the latest, but what I have just read to you is the first. Hotep and Ashe and God Thoth always says, when you search for the truth, let the truth set you free. See you later, guys. Have a great day.